Right,
over to you, Charlotte.
I went on cutting it right, love. We're going to have a lot of laughs.
Hello and welcome back to Behind the Counter with HH. Tonight this is episode 5 and we are exploring Stacey's story.
It's not that exciting. It's really not.
So, Stace, take us way back to the beginning. Did you grow up in Stockport? Have you lived here all your life?
Yes, I have. So, Stockport born and bred, and come from a council estate called Aswood in Stockport. And yeah, I'm one of 3. My mum, Jan, and our Rob as well, and my sister. I'm the youngest of 3 siblings. So yeah, grew up in Aswood. We didn't have much growing up. We didn't have horses growing up. We did have horses growing up, but they weren't ours. So we had to kind of like borrow and beg. And I remember my sister's 10 years older, so she was the one that got into it first. I wasn't even born actually when she was horse riding. And it was her that got me into it, and she just used to loan others in return for like muckouts and things like that. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
So was there a point when you were in school, did you go to college afterwards? Did you think like when you were younger, I want to work with horses, I want to do something in the equestrian kind of side of things?
I didn't actually want to work with horses. I just really wanted a horse.
Right.
But I never thought, I couldn't even get a horse, so the thought of working with horses was never that far ahead because I couldn't even get a horse, never mind working with them. So I remember thinking to myself, when I'm older, I'm going to work as hard as I can and buy as many horses as I can. And we used to always come home, me and my sister, from the stables, and my sister was loaning a Welsh D stallion. And we were just adamant that we wanted a horse. We'd come home and, Mum, Dad, can we have one? I was like, we've got no money, we can't. And it was literally just, can't afford them. So it was just do what we could.
To be around them.
To be around them,
How old were you when you got your first horse then?
So when I actually owned my first horse, I was 20.
Okay.
So yeah, I didn't actually own my first, but I remember I think it's when you've not had something that you've been dying for years, you go all out, and in the end, I had 5 horses.
All at once?
You didn't?
I did have 5 horses, at one point.
Wow.
I had 5
you
horses.
Were a horse hoarder.
Yeah, I do look back now and I think, wow.
And how did you do it?
Yeah, to just think when you're younger and you've got that much. I think when you've not been stopped, that's the wrong word, because it's not that they've stopped me, bless them. Mum and Dad were great parents, but they just simply couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And I think once you've been like told as a child something that you love that you can't have, and that you see other children
it makes you
that
want
have got,
it even more, though, doesn't it?
But I feel like I'm so happy that I had that, because I think that's where everyone says you're such a driven person, but I think that's that's where it's come from. Yeah. Of not having, does that give you the drive? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I think that's definitely where it's come from. Not, not being handed anything on a plate. Yeah. Anything that we've wanted, we've had to literally go out and work for it.
Hard for it.
Yeah. But yeah, there was no like riding lessons years ago. I remember like being like 10, 11. And my sister was like, right, come on, we're going doing the horse now. And she'd just take me down. I remember my first time jumping. It was on this totally green, like say, Welsh D stallion. And she just used me as the prop. She did, because I was tiny. She just like stuck me on and lunged me over the jumps to get him used to the jumps. And I'd never jumped in my life. And I'm just like, I said, what do I do? She was like, just hold on to the front, you'll be all right. And she's lunging him, and I'm going, round, wee, round, wee. I'm like, oh my God. I remember actually the first time that I ever cantered. I can't remember how old I was, or maybe it might have been like 9 or 10 or something. I think it was called Oak Riding School in Sale. Is there an Oak Riding School in Sale?
Not familiar.
I don't know if it's shut down. I've just got that memory in my mind. And she took me to, do you know where you pay for like the hacks?
Oh yeah.
And I remember somebody like leading me out. And then they said, she cantered before, but because my sister was a great jockey, she was just wanting to go off galloping.
She said,
and the feeling, she said, and I've never cantered before. And I just looked at her, and she looked at me, she went, just hold on the front, you'll be fine. The horse will just follow me. And I'm like, right. But I do, still to this day, it's so mad. I remember that feeling. I just remember that
Just
first
feeling like,
canter.
oh my God.
Yeah, I just remember
Were
the
you fine?
girl, like, I stayed on. Yeah.
Natural pro.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. Honestly, I didn't know what I was doing, but the feeling, I remember it just being a mad feeling, because obviously you don't think nothing of it now because you can't that much. But as a child, it was this big thing where I'd gone from not riding much to being chucked on them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think she was a bit mean looking back. That could have gone totally
But
wrong.
you could not be here to tell the tale.
Horzehoods wouldn't exist, would it?
I know, imagine that.
Yeah,
That'd
definitely.
be disappointing life.
But
for a
yeah,
lot of us.
I think that would shock a lot of people to know that obviously I'd ridden from being a kid. Maybe not, obviously it wasn't consistently. I didn't compete because obviously we didn't own our own horses. But I think that'd shock people to know I'm 41 now, so I've owned my own horses for like 20 years.
Yeah.
But I don't think you knew that, did you? That's probably like...
I didn't think
I
you were
didn't-
20
no,
when you
yeah.
got your first. Yeah.
It's crazy. And it is different owning your own horse, isn't
Yeah,
it?
Yeah.
definitely.
Completely different.
Yeah, I got booked off on my own horse. An old cob, bless him, and I was actually going down a hill, and yeah, I went for like a little canter. I was on my own, and he bronked me off. He was actually called Sonny.
Was it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he was called Sonny, a skewbald, a
cute.
little 14-hand. So that was like my first horse, and I don't think you truly learn to ride till you get your own.
No.
Do you? You kind of like chucked in at the deep end. And yeah, I obviously, because when I was working, I couldn't afford like a top horse, and I wasn't experienced enough to have like a top horse. So I've gone through my life having green horses. Just that's all I could afford. And yeah, just totally green, and then having to bring them on myself and learn as I go along.
Yeah.
But I do think like you learn stability a bit more, don't you?
Definitely.
Because I've had some
Producing your own
conquers.
as well, like,
Cheeky ones.
produces you as a rider as well.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
you produce, well, all of yours as
Yeah.
well, like the later ones like Basco.
Yeah,
and
and
you've got to
I
start
love
with
learning.
Oreo.
Yeah, I just think every day with horse. That's what I love about horses. I feel like
You
I'm
never
a bit of a
stop, do you?
sponge. You
Every
just
horse
never
teaches
stop.
you something different,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah,
All
and
the time, daily even, like how they react to certain things.
just when you think you
or-
know something and then they change your perspective on it or do something, oh no,
Yeah.
that's a better way. Or that's what I love about horses.
Yeah.
That you,
Yeah.
there's
And I think
so much to
everyone would
learn.
say that, wouldn't they? Going right up to top professionals, every horse they train must teach them something different because
Yeah.
they have to train each horse differently. They're
adapt
not
to
all
them.
textbook,
Yeah.
are
I
they?
think there's a bit of a stigma in the horse world where people think you're expected to know everything, and it's a bit shameful if somebody knows something that you don't. But I think with horses, they're all so different.
Yeah.
And one rule for one isn't for another, all different characters. And there's no shame in learning something new that day. I think if you're not learning something, then there's
Something's
something
wrong.
wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
Like to the day you die, if you're still with horses, you should be learning and having a realisation about something.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So before like Horzehoods was started, what was your like career path leading up to all of this?
So my mum said I always knew, she said I always knew you'd do business. I was like, why, Mum? She went, I had a fortune teller tell me. Typical Jan. She said, you're going to have a kid that's your youngest is going to do dead well and be a business brain and all this. I don't know if she's just lying, just saying that.
Don't knock that fortune teller. Was it in Blackpool?
God, I would have to ask her actually. She said it, she said it was a fortune teller. But I remember when I was in, I must have been about 8, and my mum went to work, and obviously we had food in, we were well fed, but it's not like a luxury house or, we was on a council estate at the end of the day, making ends meet. So I remember my poor mum, she went to work, and I come up with this brainwave that I could earn the family money, must have been like 10 or something, by creating a cafe in my back garden. So I made a cafe and I drew out all the menus, and I went in the kitchen and took every bit of food out my mum's cupboards, and like all the sausage, the
sold it
bacon,
all.
everything.
Sold it all.
And literally, I've always had that brain about me, to like make money.
I'm intrigued if you made a profit.
Well, I made menus, and then I knocked on all the neighbours. I can't remember I think it was Aswood Cafe or something, and I said, I've created a cafe. Do you want to come in? I've put a table outside in the back garden, and I thought I'd give my mum the proceeds. And I said, obviously, here's the menu. And I do remember a couple of neighbours must have felt they're sorry for me. It's like, oh, mum's at work and she's making a oh, we'll have a bacon butty, love. And I remember making them the butties. And obviously, I don't know what I charged them or whatever. But yeah, they had the butties, and then my mum come in to no food in the cupboards.
Oh, and then did you get in trouble?
I can't remember fully, but I remember like not very happy. I must maybe give her a quid or something to eradicate all the food in the thing. So
There's nothing for tea for anyone, but here's a quid.
So I was clearly a rubbish businesswoman at 10 years of age. And then
Start though.
I know, and then like at school when we were doing like our GCSEs and stuff, I did business studies, and I come up with this brainwave that I would earn money by. I asked them, could I set up a real business? Because we had to create a business in the business studies.
I remember this.
Yeah, by making a car washing business, and I was going to earn the school money because I would wash all the teachers' cars and I'd charge them. So then out the proceeds, you had to write it all down and buy a sponge and buckets. And I was that idiot that actually kids probably looked out the window and watched me.
You did it?
Cleaning all the teachers' cars because I wanted to do that with this business portfolio that I was doing. So I was the one that was like, I look back and I think, why would I clean teachers' cars and then give the money to the school? But it was part of,
shoes.
I know, I wasn't really like in school much really, to be fair.
That's another
But
story.
yeah, I just found that anything to do with that sort of entrepreneurial business kind of thing, since being little, it's always
Lit
been,
your fire kind of thing.
it's always been with me. And my mum, even like the design phase, my mum used to always my mum taught me how to sew, my auntie taught me how to knit, so I'd always loved like jotting things down, creating outfits out of nothing. So I've always had that aspect of it as well. And then obviously the horses, it's something that I've always loved and wanted to get into. So I suppose those were the three things that were installed in me from being young. And then I kind of like knew in my head, in the back of my head, I was like, I know I'm going to make my own money somehow. And I want it to be with things that I love.
Yeah.
And like creating and things like that. But my life's gone a bit, it hasn't been, I mean, I sound like I could waffle on forever with it. It's just been in majorly weird directions. Like very strange. Like, yeah, I'd gone from like singing in a band and then completely like giving that up to starting Horzehoods as well. So yeah, it's all gone a bit coo-whiffy.
Coo-whiffy.
Is that a word? What's the word I'm thinking of?
Skew-whiffy.
Skew-whiffy. Is that the word? Skew-whiffy.
Skew-whiff.
Is that the word I'm thinking of?
Skew-whiff.
Skew-whiff.
I think so, like skew-whiff.
Skew-whiffy.
Skew-whiff.
So just before then, obviously you had your three things that kind of drove the start of Horzehoods. What did you do before you set up Horzehoods career-wise?
Yeah, so before Horzehoods, I went to study business, A-level business at college, and then I lasted like a week, and I was just thinking, I want to go and make my own money. This is like, I reckon I could do this without all. It just wasn't me doing that
Sitting
kind
in a classroom.
just
kind
that
of.
direction. I thought I could just be out like
doing it
and actually learning a lot more skill. And obviously, if you want to be like, it's amazing learning and studying, there's a reason for it. If you want to be like a doctor,
Just
professor,
doesn't suit
and
some
things.
people though, does
Yeah,
it?
no, I'm more like hands-on on the job, and I just think by getting stuck in and starting, that's kind of like where you learn the skills from. But like, I mean, from 16 to 18, all I wanted to do was just actually go out and enjoy myself.
Yeah.
So I kind of just did whatever jobs came. And at 16 years old, I was actually working at Britannia, and that was folding sheets for a Britannia hotel. So at 16, I was feeding sheets through with my mum's friend, and she had one end of the sheet and I had the other, and it was the most boringest job in the world ever.
Sheet folder.
Sheet folder at 16, so I've got that on my CV. At the time, that's just what I was
all you wanted
thinking.
to
Yeah,
do.
just have a bit of fun and
Spare money.
yeah. So I was a sheet folder, and then I went into packing leaflets. Yay, packing leaflets in a factory. God, I've done some. Oh, and cleaning for the tax office. Yeah, I've done that one as well. They're so random. That's
They're
what I mean.
very random.
Yeah, and then I got my first job at 18, proper job, as an office junior. And then that's when I got into like an office business environment.
Yeah.
And then I got promoted at 18 there, and then I seen an advert for recruitment, so I went into recruitment at 18, and then I got promoted to manager at 19, and then literally we had like 450 workers out a day, and there was other branches competing, and we were like the top branch. And I just tend to, when I was into that, I was just thinking, wow, actually I'm pretty
really
decent at this.
Quick succession through like a career.
But I didn't realise at the time, I was just that engrossed in I used to just get such a buzz off being successful in something. I just felt like it was a natural thing for me to be in that officey business environment. But I just felt like the creative flair was missing for me. So I love creating, and that was always sat in the back of my mind.
So were you always at home, like having a bit of a play?
I'd always love
design
like
and things and stuff.
I always loved like style and fashion. Then when I got into the horses, I mean, I used to have like outfits, and then I'd buy them, and then I'd look at
Destroy them.
Yeah, I'd destroy them.
You cut them up a bit.
Cut them up,
Remodel
make them my own, and I'd just look at things. And my mates used to always say, "Oh, you've bought that. It looks awful off the hanger, and then when you get it on, it looks really nice." And I used to say like, "Can you come shopping with me and sort me an outfit out?" Because I'd always make them wear things what they wouldn't normally wear, and I used to love the styling aspect of it. So yeah, it was just a natural progression to combine the two. And I just one day, when I had my horse, needed a hood, and I had a hood off a brand, and it was not very good, and it didn't fit round the chest area, and it didn't go under enough. And then one day I just had this brainwave and thought, I've always had this mind, but I was thinking, why didn't they put
that on there?
the bib section underneath, and why all they needed to do was put 4 slots underneath and then put the girth through. And my mind's very methodical like that. I'm always thinking of problem solving, of like, why didn't they do that, or why don't you just do it like this, because this is a much better way. So I just thought, well, they don't exist, so I'm just going to make my own. And then I remember I had like my sewing kit, and I physically made.
I physically realise that you physically
there is
made
actually
the first one. Have you got it?
A photo of my
Oh,
private.
you have to have kept that.
Have you got it?
A photo of my private Facebook, and I remember uploading it, 2011 or something like that. And then and then I just ended up thinking I need to create these.
How did you find like a factory then? How, like.
So
that's the bit that intrigues me.
That's in your head, that's what I want to make, but how do you know who to ask to do all of that?
Yeah, so you can go to like fairs. I found somebody that was like a broker that put me in touch with the factory that do like products. So different factories have different niches and work with different type of fabrics. So for leather work, I personally find a factory in India, they're amazing with leather work and quality. I wouldn't use a factory overseas in maybe like China for leather work. So I think if you know what you're doing with like manufacturing, you can choose wisely. But the factory that I use for my hoods, they're very good with the stretch based product. So I use them, and I still use them to this day for the hoods and all like the garments and everything, because throughout those years I've always tried to outdo myself and better myself and make sure I can get even better quality than what I've got. I'll never sit on anything. So if I've got something, I'm like, but it can be better. But I cannot find a better factory than what I've got for the garments. So I always stay with them, because it's one of those, don't fix something that's not broke.
Yeah, definitely.
So we literally started off with like 2 size hoods, and I think I did them in pink. And I went with pink because obviously I started off with absolutely zilch, no money, absolutely nothing. And I didn't have any money to start up. And then sadly, my mum's brother passed away. And obviously my family had nothing. And he left her some money, and my mum gave me £2,000, which was
that's so
a lot.
Lovely.
And I was just like so grateful. But I knew he'd worked all his life, my Uncle Billy, and I knew he would have been so proud if he knew that £2,000.
God has built this.
That is like a testament to him. Because I'd always done like, it's mad, but I'd always like earn a bit of bread on the side. So I've always done like eBay, I'd buy and sell saddles.
A little side hustle.
A little side hustle to up like my wages. And it was my Uncle Billy that used to come round every day, and he'd be like, come on then, what have you got me to send to the post office for eBay? And he used to post on stuff, but he did enjoy it because he had no kids around. So he did absolutely love it. And that's kind of like how it started. And then I set a Facebook page up, and I was thinking of a name. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I would what I know now 12 years later versus what I knew then was I've just had to learn everything along the way. And I could have saved myself a lot of money, but yeah, you learn, don't you? And so if people need advice, I'm always there to give them the kind of answers, because that'll save them money that it didn't save me. But yeah, I started with 2 boxes and then set up in my dining room in my little council house that I had with my son, and that was in 2012, I think. And then I registered the business in 2013. I initially started selling on Facebook. I don't even think I had a website.
Wasn't it like just to friends originally?
It was, yeah, originally to friends.
Because I remember having one of the very first
Did
hoods.
you?
Yeah.
Really?
It must have been in the next
remember,
lot of colours though.
Didn't you move out your dining room and get a little place in Davenport or?
It wasn't far from the...
Yeah.
It was on the corner, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Was it
because
Edgeley?
I'd moved like quite a few times, so I just kept because I started in my dining room with 2 boxes, and then honestly, that everyone just loved the fit on them, and they must have like gone across all the showing people, and they just went like
Couldn't
that.
keep them in.
I could not keep them
well.
in, and then we got more, and then obviously it was more sizing, so it took a long time to develop the sizes, and then before you knew it, I just had like.
And they've not really changed since then, have they?
No, because
it just works.
I remember spending a lot of time on them moulds and the sizes back and two, testing all different types. And I knew I did that much work at the beginning part, it'd be foolish of me to ever change them because they work.
Because we were having a quick conversation before, weren't we, about the hoods and tail bags and stuff, and at the minute that you're struggling to keep them in stock. So it just shows that.
And that is an original product.
That's what, is it 10 years? Is it 12 years?
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That just...
Yeah, and that's how it started off. And, you know, I did always want to do clothing, because I always wanted to, there was things that I wanted to buy that were never on the market, that I just have in my mind, and I'd vision an outfit perfectly, but I couldn't find it anywhere. And I didn't have the skills at the time. I was always sketching it out, but I didn't have the skills at the time in terms of developing tech packs and the technical side of it. So yeah, it's just you kind of go with what you start off with, and then it develops. So I always knew I'd go into clothing. Yeah. But we did start off with the garments, and ironically, it's the clothing's just the HH unique equestrian side. That's just
everyone loves it though.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I set that up in 2017. I wanted to make sure that my skills were there before I went into the clothing side, and I wanted to make sure that I could bring something out.
Because you did a few very little bits originally, didn't you? Like the Jessica gels.
Yeah.
Before you really set up fully doing lots of clothing.
They were just like little sampley tests to make sure that. Yeah, I mean,
I've been at Horzehoods,
people
and people have still got them. Yeah.
People say, "Do you still do the Jessica gels?" And they were my first ever product. But obviously, you look back now and you think how times have changed in fashion. I look back and I do cringe. I shouldn't.
You shouldn't, no.
It's only because
they were 10 years ago or whatever, they weren't they? So things have changed, and riding wear's changed, hasn't it? I mean, leggings weren't around then, were they? No. Really, like to.
There wasn't mainstream, was there? The leggings.
Endurance kind of riders.
Endurance riders have always used the riding leggings, but they didn't come mainstream where everyone wanted them at the time. They were kind of like in the background what people had, but it wasn't. They weren't very commercial, was they?
I'd say like leggings are probably more so worn now
than anything else.
Breeches.
Yeah.
Just so easy and comfortable, aren't they?
Aren't they for everybody? And the fabrics now are so good as well that they don't feel like leggings.
No. Yeah.
Definitely not. So after you'd done your hoods, what product came next?
I think it was the full body sets. Now I remember those being a head scratcher to get right. Honestly,
I can imagine, because horses' bodies and necks and
and I would never ever do what other people were doing. That I just don't understand why anyone would bring anything out that's already there. Yeah. So I remember thinking, I've got this full loop bib system in my hoods. How can I adapt that to the bodies? Because I really want to put the full loop bib system in the full body sets. Yeah. And obviously that didn't exist on the market. But I did really like the full loop system to help adapt the shape. So I did a surcingle. So each body set comes with a surcingle, and then as you wrap the surcingle through, you can loop it through 1, 2, 3 or 4 under there. So that gives more adjustment as well. But yeah, they took so much time. I did like a couple of sizes, and then I had to just take some headspace to go and work on them. It was either the bigger ones or the tiny ones were really hard to to get right.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. The mini ones
Yeah,
are like...
You know, when you start a business and you haven't actually got a lot of money to play with, the sampling is so expensive. So each sample you get, and it's like, still not right. And you're just thinking, money again. It's not right again, back in two. And it takes so much time.
Yeah.
So
worth it in the end, though, once you've, like, nailed that kind of design and how you want it.
Yeah, it is, but then it's like a bit... it doesn't bother me much nowadays, but I remember years ago, I've got a much thicker skin now where I kind of just put it over my head. But I remember years ago, like a well-known brand, somebody said, isn't that what you created? And it was like the 4-loop bib system. And it's just a weird feeling that you remember the time when you thought about a process or a concept and how you was going to add it in, and then how long it takes you, and somebody just comes along and goes, we'll mass produce that. And, you know, and then I remember I never really put things like that on Facebook, but at the time it was still quite a professional post. It wasn't like a ranty one, but I did put something on Facebook just to warn people, because I was more worried that people thought we took it from someone else.
Yeah, because you were so small.
Because we were such a small company, and I just wanted to let people know that I haven't copied somebody else, that they took it from me. And I remember feeling like really panicky about putting this post on.
Aww.
But I think you have got to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And there's no harm if you know, if you've spent time creating something, essentially it's a bit of theft, really, isn't it? If somebody's...
It's your brain. They've taken a bit of your brain power out there.
Yeah, it just feel like you've been burgled.
Yeah, they burgled your
my
brain.
brain. They won't want to burgle this.
Oh, God, no.
But yeah, that kind of like adapted in, and I just found, and I hate saying it because I don't want to sound big-headed, but I don't know, every single day I have something in my head like a light bulb, and I think, even if it's not to do with horses, it might be something in the house that, like a product that you use in the home. Why don't they do it in this or that? And I'll have this concept, and I just describe it like a magic pencil in my head, and it completely draws it out to perfection.
And you crayon.
Never stop.
And I'm just like, right, that needs to happen, or I need to do this, or this would be cool, or why don't they do this, because this would totally prevent this. But getting that from brain to concept, sometimes my factories are like, what are you giving us here? Even the tech packs, a lot of time, they couldn't make sense of it, where I've had to literally physically, I do a lot of it on paper.
Yeah.
So even like the flexi badge, that kind of idea, I made that with paper. Even like the slots, and then I made the tabs, and then I would measure them out and then fit them into the tabs, and then I've had to film it all, and then the manufacturing team for the pads is a different manufacturing team. They would say to me like, that's not possible, and I would be like, yes it is, it's in my head, so it is possible. I made it out of paper, it is possible. I was like, that is possible, and then I would literally have to explain to them how, but obviously they've got their own processes with the machinery, so yeah, it takes a long time to come out with, from like design concept to finished product, and sometimes it doesn't work. You know, the samples that I've not even launched or made because they never worked, and we had to find another way to bring it out, and one day it might come out.
Which product, so I was just thinking of, which product has taken the longest from like first idea, designing, to like being released?
Well, there's one that's not released at the minute, the Dream Breeches. I think 11 samples now.
Wow.
And each sample takes like a good month and a half to get back.
Yeah.
Honestly, these Dream Breeches in my
head...
We're
not a dream. It's not a dream to make.
I think that's what it is.
It's a nightmare.
No, honestly, because in my head, it's obviously... You know my feelings on a lot of the breeches or leggings that are on the market. Everything's so mass produced, and it is literally buying from AliExpress and sticking a logo on. Everyone's selling the same products, and it's fueling the consumer in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, these Dream Breeches, in my head, like, they're called Dream Breeches because they've got to be perfect.
Yeah.
And I get to that point where other staff are looking at me and going, no, they're actually good now. And then the final one.
I've tried a pair on,
you
and I was
saying,
like,
no, they're not the final.
Oh my God, I love them.
You tried sample 5 or something on.
And then you were like, you can't put that on. They're not the finished products. No. And I was like, they're amazing.
But that mortifies me, that because I'm so proud in the product, it mortifies me the thought of someone wearing something that's not 100%. Even if they say they love it, if I know I can make it better, I'm just like, no, that could be so much better. And I've always had that. Yeah, sometimes you can go too overboard where you're chasing quality and perfection that you're never going to get we've reached it kind of
Yeah.
thing. But I'll always carry on trying to better myself for the
It's
brand.
a really good like trait to have, and like everyone who knows like the brand know it for like the quality.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, when you start, you go with what quality you can afford.
Yeah.
I've still got a sample base layer that you gave me. I think probably one of the first sample things you've ever given me, which was maybe 9 years. When did you bring the original like air mesh with the turquoise?
That was
17.
2017, yeah.
But I've got a black base layer with red to here.
Oh God, we never brought that
We
out.
never brought it out.
That was a song.
And I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I wear it sometimes in work, and the girls are like, "Where have you got that from?" And I'm like, "It's Horzehoods." And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's like it's vintage, like
Horzehoods,
vintage,
yeah.
not produced." And it's like mad. And like that air mesh set, the turquoise
I've
one.
still got mine.
I see them, my girls in
Really?
work still wearing theirs. Like it's mad. Even the silicone's still fine on it. And
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
and that's why people know the brand, don't they? Because,
Yeah.
I mean, I work with horses. I live in it. Like, day in, day out, I wear leggings. You know, I can wash and wear them. God knows how many times I clip in them. Like, and the hair washes out. It's amazing. But, yeah, they just keep going.
Yeah.
So, and that's what you want, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
you don't mind. I always say buy
Investing.
cheap, buy twice, and
Yeah.
like it's quality, isn't it? And that's something you're like passionate about,
Yeah,
is the fact
definitely.
that people are buying these items and they last.
Yeah, I'm very hard to please with my own product. So sometimes like people go, "What? I don't get what you're saying. Like that is just great." Like, and I'm just like, "No, but look," and I'll spot the slightest little thing, and then it just has to be rerun. And we've pulled so many things, and I think you have even said in the past, and Sam or Holly upstairs have been like, what's wrong with it? And I'm like, yeah, but it's got that bit on it. That was not meant to be how it should have run. Like the product's
sleep
run.
at night.
And I'm just like, if my name's on something, if I'm not 100% with it, then I feel like I'm being a phony or faking somebody out
Even
of money.
though as mere
or respect.
mortals have no idea about that little bit.
to me though, it's just like I owe that customer because I just feel so humbled that people are spending money that they've, hard-earned money, that a lot of people, that might be their last £60 that they want to spend. So I owe it to, genuinely believe that I owe it to that customer to make sure that it is the best. And I almost feel like it's sincere. If I'm not 100% happy with it, why would I not pull it?
Yeah.
So I think we've pulled a couple of things. Rarely happens, but you've probably remembered over the years. I think we pulled the space leggings.
Yeah.
Because they should have been how the fabric was made was completely wrong.
I still got mine.
Have you? And I was just like, this sublimation on them, like it shouldn't have been printed. The colour shouldn't have been printed. So when it came, and this can happen in like down the line when you're dealing with chains. Down the line, somebody at one point makes a decision that you're not aware of
sure.
right before it goes into production, and then you've got like 4,000 pairs of leggings coming, and then you open them box and you're really excited, ready for everyone to be excited, and you're doing your quality controls here, even though they've had them there, and then they come and you're like, your heart sinks because you just want it to be perfect, and it's like, this is not perfect.
They just the white showed through on them, didn't they?
Yeah.
People might still have them.
I
We
think
sold
we sold them cheaper than what they
off.
cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was just like, I would rather lose money than lose sleep.
And they were gorgeous. And because they had that lovely waistband, didn't they?
The V waistband
Yeah.
on them.
Yeah, they were. I always feel like we should have redone something to do
Maybe
them
now you've got the
justice.
teal pad coming back. Maybe we do need a limited edition teal space legging.
Yeah, do you know, we should do something
Watch this
summer based,
space.
but it's just because it takes so many months to get out. I'd have to
Yeah.
see whether we can use one of the older moulds and try and get something out quicker, but that would be really nice. But yeah, it is a bit crazy how far the brand has come. And sometimes I think when you're that busy running the business, directing it, you're
You
million
forget
miles
to look
away.
back and see what you've actually
yeah.
done.
You don't actually sit and reflect on
Need
where
to
you
step
are.
aside and look at what you have
It's
done.
honestly, it's crazy. And my husband always says to me, like, you give yourself such an hard time. He said,
do.
you are so hard on yourself. He was like, why are you so hard on yourself? Like, it's great what you've achieved. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, I haven't really achieved anything. That's what, honestly, it's like this parrot on my shoulder. And it's like, I said, but it's not that good, really. You know, I could do better. And then, honestly, I've had it since
Can never please
child.
you.
It's like, yeah, but it's not. It's
a good job though, because all this stuff keeps getting better for us. So
I can be with other people. I'm like, well done, that's amazing, and I'm just rooting for that person. And I am so kind to other people, but to myself, I'm not. I've got really bad imposter syndrome, really to the point where it can cripple me some days. Like you just know that anyway, don't you? It's just sometimes it can be very crippling. I've had to like read up a lot about it, and I'm like, oh my god, that's like every trait of me. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Can I not just say, well done, Stace, you've done all right today?
There has been a few moments though, like in the last maybe year, where you have actually said,
I think you have started to give yourself more credit.
I don't know, since having Jax, it made me, because I was working from home, and obviously the team were amazing here, but just having that moment where you can soon buy your baby, you're not in that environment, it probably makes you reflect more.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm reflecting more now. The team's growing and you're handing different jobs over to people. You're not every single department yourself.
You can sit back and watch a little bit of how it's working on its own.
Have to, because you're running a team. Your job then becomes more into meetings, because you're working with the team to do the things that you was doing. They're an extension of you, and you want them to have the same sort of values as you. So I feel like that has helped sit me back and be like, oh God, you've actually done okay.
Because you had to stay away when you had Jax, and they were here working, forced you to in a way, doesn't it? So it was probably the best thing that happened. Yeah. It's done you the world of good.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Bit of reflection here.
Yeah, honestly,
going deep.
Yeah, no, it was getting, or can be, when it happens. People think they see it as like a glamorous life. I don't have a glamorous life, do I? No. I've not been on a holiday for like 3 years.
I've been badgering you to go on holiday for so long, and you're like, oh, we're just going to go to Wales. I'm like, you need to be on a plane.
Yeah.
Somewhere hot.
Yeah, because it's like your children come first, and then husband, and then horses. I was making sure I put that in my order then. And then obviously your business, and I find like I'm just totally okay with being at the bottom.
And you do a lot for everyone around you as well.
Yeah, I do feel
you do take a lot on your shoulders for a lot that goes on around you.
I know, why does everyone come to me with the problems? It's like, oh, Stacey will sort it out. And I'm like, I'm getting further and further down the pile.
Yeah, so you do sometimes need to give yourself a break.
Some days I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, whoa, you look rough. You look rough. Because
you look rough, girl.
Honestly.
Every day.
But you don't but you don't broadcast it. So it's this thing again as well on socials. I think people would probably be shocked if they heard my story of where I've come from. Maybe people might have thought with how the brand stands today, it might have been made, originally come from money, or I don't know, there's loads of avenues to look at it, but I know it's so amazing that I'll always be so thankful to him for that, and he's just, he will be so proud as well, because he'd worked all his life, and he would be so proud to know that a little bit that money went into starting this, and literally it all started from £2,000,
which is madness, isn't it?
It's crazy.
I remember getting my first bill when you import something and it comes by sea. I didn't know this at the time, so once it hits the port, you then get charged customs duty and customs VAT, and obviously you've got to pay that before they release. And I didn't even have I don't even think I had a URI number at the time. So each person that imports, each company that imports has to have a URI number. And then I remember my shipping agent ringing me. She was like, right, have you got however much it was for this stuff that was, I went, what's that? And she was like, yeah, you've got, and I genuinely didn't know what it was. And I had to literally get an overdraft to pay. So although I'd had the £2,000 to buy the goods, I'd not factored in.
But you had to get them back to you.
But I had to literally pay money to the government to have them released. So I had to literally put that on my get an overdraft.
Oh God.
And put that on my overdraft, and then obviously throughout the first few years, I'm a bootstrap business, don't have any investment. Anything that I get a humble wage, and then the rest goes back in, pay everyone else's.
The next 10 minutes of this episode encounters audio issues. We apologise.
And it just gets reinvested in. So it's very much a bootstrap business, but at the time I was unaware, so I had to just self-fund, and the amount of loans that I had to keep getting at the time, especially when something's growing,
Yeah.
When something's growing, you've got to...
Like, the more people are buying it, the more you've got to...
Well, there's a misconception with business. People think that you have to like get loans and get stuff out because you're not doing well. When in actual fact, if you've got demand there,
It's growth, isn't
Yeah.
it? And
we didn't
supply.
get, manufacturers don't, you don't get credit. You've got to pay that, and you've got to pay the balance before it's released.
Yeah.
So that was another factor financially. It was quite stressful because you've got to find money from nowhere. It's like sell something, pay for a box
Still
of
side
chips.
hustling on eBay.
Yeah, side hustling. But I think you learn the skills actually with how you run money. So obviously I've got the skills now to deal with bigger portions of money for the demand. So yeah, it's taught me some valuable lessons for sure. That's for sure.
Oh no, it's amazing though. Like seeing the start.
I think
to
it's
where
nice
you are
for other
now.
people to hear it as well. If somebody young, it doesn't even matter if you're younger, does it? Or you've got a little idea at home that you can just make it real, that this could happen from it. You never know, do you?
Yeah. And I think in the horse world, I say this all the time, and I don't mean it towards anybody, but I do genuinely believe, especially with how much people are drop shipping and just adding, creating a logo and just adding it to a product.
It must be because people have seen connections with me on social media with here. I get WhatsApp messages from Indian factories or wherever, sending me like all these products, and now and again I'm like, what's this come from? And I'll have a flick through and thinking, I recognise half of those products, but I just see them sold with different logos, and it is a bit the kind of
It's very liquidated.
liquidated, isn't it?
It's good.
And it's nice that you always try and change things. Like you brought out a brilliant pad, it was great. Then you added the flexi tab, and then you've added like the performance kind of range.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a little twist to it, and I think that's what keeps people excited for the new ranges, and it's something different all the time.
There's
And
not loads
I mean,
of
I say to you
either.
all the time, your brain is mental. Like, it freaks me out. Like, she'll be like, and by the way, and this has just come in today, and I'm like, when did you think of that? Like, how? But I think that's what keeps the brand really fresh, and people get excited for new releases. And I think as well, you've done a really good job of building a bit of a community, and you don't, you set your influencers are your customers, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
You work a lot with normal people. They're not people with thousands of followers, and they're people that are your customers. And I think that says a lot as well, because somebody that's 15 that's just got an average pony that you've just spotted and you sent some products to it. Like, to them that's huge, and it makes people buy more. Not just that, but
what a
see
gift
what
if
it's
you've
about.
got that power in a way to make that
someone
person's
feel
day.
like that.
Make that person's day that they may never get opportunities.
100%.
And I think it's because where I've come from
Yeah.
with no
And I
opportunity.
think that's what's
I'm empathetic to that
a lovely
because
part of like the whole brand. It's not just what you're buying, is it? It kind of, you feel a bit of something. I don't know. Like, there's always really helpful tips, or I don't know. It just feels like I see the same names pop up all the time on posts, and I think that's really nice.
I had a cry the other day. I got overwhelmed. There's a lady that had purchased, and Sam lets me know. And anyone that purchases over like 50 orders, it tells us what number orders they're on. And it does happen a lot. And,
who are the addicts?
And another lady had reached. Obviously, Sam comes to me to like sign it off. Like, can she pay for like a bouquet of flowers? So when someone hits 50 orders, they get like a bouquet of flowers sent to them.
Everyone's now buying more stuff. They want these flowers.
So Sam tells me, and she's told me
about
flowers. She tells me like, she'll come up to this, Stacey, we alright to send this on the company card and this and buy this? And I'm like, yeah, but the other day she told me one, and I was just like, at the night time I had a cry. It just sunk in, and I don't know what it was about that day, but I was just like, this is a bit crazy. And I think it's because the growth has gone even
just somebody's
bigger.
bought that much stuff from you.
Yeah, and I think it's just because my ideas aren't stopping in my head.
And when she'll be 90 in a nursing home, she'll like, ping!
I've already created like the next 3 years.
Wow.
But this is why with collections, that's why I do a bespoke collection every year. I keep it around a theme. So it was like the Norway collection, and it was like I'd develop it around something, and it just keeps it all uniform because I'm a bit all over. You could go mental with it, and I think it just keeps it quite regimented and helps me to keep it all in line. So I've already created like obviously the winters and then next year's as well. So that's really good.
Can we tell them about your upgrade to Kenny that went wrong?
Yeah,
This is so funny. Sporty Kenny.
Sporty Kenny.
Have we got a picture?
We could put a picture at the end of the thing.
So have we got a Kenny?
Well,
So everyone loves getting their little Kennys after. What is it if you spend £70?
75.
But because Stacey likes to change things up a bit, she wanted to upgrade him, and he came back with a tennis racket.
It's totally non-horse related. We've got like a Roger Federer.
Tennis Kenny.
Tennis Kenny!
And he had a little racket like this.
Maybe we could auction him.
It's literally nothing to do with horses.
Is he real? Is he here?
No.
Oh,
Well,
you
it's
didn't
not
send
anymore.
Have you sent him back?
We sent him
Oh,
to
we
a
could've-
mother. Tennis Kenny. But bless my obviously manufacturers.
But that's how weird you are. You can't just even leave Kenny alone.
I know,
You
but-
have to upgrade him.
Even Kenny needs a little
little
a little break.
Zhuzh.
What did I say before? Zhuzh. Oh, I can't remember the
Stu Whit.
skew with it.
No, but what do you say when you want to give someone a bit of boom?
Oh,
That was
that's
off the car, wasn't it?
that was
Car
Tier on me. Baba boom it was.
I was going to say something, but it was really not.
Anyway,
Kenny always comes with
Blow
his
up Kenny.
conversation.
no, but we love Kenny.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't say my story's that glamorous, would you? Really?
No, but it is inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just-
Definitely.
well, I
Like,
just-
you don't like to hear that of yourself, do you?
No.
But it definitely is very inspiring for a lot of people to listen to and see that, you know, you might get a spare bit of money and what you can do with it, basically.
I just hope, like, what upsets me is, I suppose we can like round up on this, is the thought of like a young child in a car, and it doesn't matter to me. It's important to say where I have come from and that I've come from the council. Say I'm so proud of that, and I love the community where I grew up, and I am proud of where I've come from. And I do think that it's really important to say where I've come from, just because it'll inspire others and they've got somebody to look up to, and think, well, if she's done it, I can do
Exactly.
it. Because I think I remember as a child that I don't really remember anyone that was doing business or anything like that. So it does really help to know if she's done it, I can do it.
Exactly,
And that's what I hope by sending that message across and letting everyone know the story is just inspiring the next entrepreneur to
Give it a
whirl.
whirl.
is it?
Nothing's impossible.
No,
You can even could start from £1. It's just using your mind. So yeah, it was lovely to. I felt like a bit of a counselling session getting all that.
Councillor Kenny.
He's got many talents. Oh, well,
Oh no, it was really good
Yeah.
to hear all that.
Yeah, so we're going to round it up then, are we, girls? We hope you've enjoyed listening to Kenny, Jodie, Charlotte and myself, and we'll see you guys next week for another episode. Bye!